Gonzo, Sunday came, Sunday went. Moyes was still here Monday, was still here Tuesday, and he finally left yesterday. What was your initial reaction? I mean, were you worried that he was kept in lingo for 3 days or so?
No, I wasn't. He'd made all the noises about leaving, about being cast out onto the streets in his final press conference. So I think he knew his time was up, and I think we were just waiting for the board to pull the trigger. I think there'd been a certain amount of criticism, particularly in his timing of how they sacked Avram Grant. They wasted no time in getting rid of Sam Allardyce when they eventually did as well. If you remember, Allardyce actually announced he was in his match press conference straight away after the match. So maybe they thought they had to leave it a couple of days. Maybe there was also the point that they wanted to keep him on the back burner as a backup, as a reserve, just in case that everybody else fell by the wayside, which seems to have happened quite a lot. And David Moyes may well have just said, hold on a second, I've proved my credentials, I've shown you what I can do, I'm not going to sit around here waiting to be anybody's patsy. So I think that's probably more to do with it than anything else. I think he probably made the final decision, jumped before he was pushed, if you like.
Yeah, I think they were doing that. I think they were keeping him sort of there just in case while they're putting out feelers and they're approaching this man, the other man. If they all say no, they can go, well, actually, we'll have David Moyes then. And I know that he was supposed to be sort of re-interviewed, if you like. I mean, I'm delighted Moyes is gone, okay? I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm upset, etc. I've been saying for the last few months that I want him gone. I was pleased when I seen that he'd left. I was relieved because I was getting a little bit worried. I thought, hang on a minute, his contract ran out on Sunday. Why is there no official announcement? I needed that. I needed closure. I needed proof that he was gone. So, but the thing is, if I was David Moyes, I would have took that as an insult. I would have thought, hang on a minute, I've got you to 13th in the league here. I've done exactly what you asked me to do, and I've got to reapply for my job. If I'd been saying to them, where is my contract? And as soon as they got one out, I think you're right. There's two reports, isn't there? There's some saying that he got told he wasn't getting his job because of fan unrest. I mean, Christ almighty, as much as we've been saying to listen to fans, don't listen to fans on selecting a manager, because none of us are qualified to discuss who should be manager. We are football fans at the end of the day. Business decisions should be made by people who are qualified to do that. You shouldn't be reaching out to fans going, well, what do you think? Do you think we should get rid of him? Yeah, all right, yeah, we'll sack the manager. Then there was other reports saying Moyes didn't want to hang about and he felt like he was stuck on Sullivan's shoe, if you like. But what amused me, or what was your thoughts? Tuesday night, David goes on Sky Sports News saying that he hopes David Moyes continues as manager. Yeah, was that a little bit of a worry for you? Because that gave me a little bit of a scare.
No, and well, before I get into that, because we normally do questions at the end, and people know there was a process whereby we ask questions at the end. But Mark has sent me a very lengthy question, Mark, I've got to say, and I don't mean a lengthy question, Mark. Mark has sent me a lengthy question, which requires an answer. So I'll deal with it now because that's the subject. But just in terms of Moyes, if the one person didn't need a job interview, it was him. A job interview is about sitting down and saying, what did you do in your previous job? And what are your credentials? Whether you like him, whether you don't, we know all about Moyes. Surely it was insulting to ask him for a job interview, whether or not you think he should have got the job or not. Okay, so going back to David Gold saying that he wanted David Moyes. Now, Mark messaged me to say, do you think this is a bit of a chink in the armour? Obviously, David Gold doesn't know what's going on with David Sullivan, and do you think there's a split in the camp? Can we read anything into this that actually their relationship is breaking down? And it's a good question, and it's one I hear quite a lot. So it's quite important you understand the dynamic of David Gold and David Sullivan. They were both relatively small-time pornographers, but that's weird saying on a football podcast, isn't it? But David Gold was a lot wealthier than David Sullivan. But it was David Sullivan's idea to take over the newspaper, the Sunday Sport. So David Gold lent David Sullivan the money for the Sunday Sport. And David Sullivan very much said to David Gold, this is my business idea, do this, I'll make you rich, you come in. And they were wealthy anyway. But if anyone has boosted David Gold's earnings more than anyone else in the world, it's David Sullivan. It's just David Gold lent him the money. That's the nature of their relationship. They're business partners. They're not best mates. They don't spend every day over each other's house. One of them lives up in Sanderstead. The other one lives in Essex. They're not like that. So he doesn't know about the everyday running of the club, David Gold, anyway. David Gold's office is in Croydon. He's in Purley, basically. So he doesn't even have an office. He's been to the training ground twice. So that's the answer to that question. You can't read anything into it because David Sullivan runs the club. David Gold is a shareholder.
It's embarrassing though, like to have he's still at the end of the day, he's still the co-chairman. He's still the second largest shareholder we have, and he owns over a third of the club. It's just embarrassing, and I almost feel sorry for him standing there on Sky Sports News saying that he hopes David Moyes continues. But the thing is, he must know, even if David Sullivan didn't communicate that much with him, he must have seen that the previous day that David Sullivan had what's his face, Fonseca, round his house for an interview. So it's quite clear that he wasn't going to be staying. But it's just another chapter to the comedy novel that we're currently writing at West Ham. But let's talk about the managers then. There's quite a few. There's been twists and turns over the last 24 to 48 hours. First of all, Fonseca, he came in on Monday. It looks like he's pretty much well out the running now, and he was using us to get a new deal, but he rocked up at the Sullivan's gaff. Had you ever heard of him?
Yes, because some obscure website had linked it. I started a thread on the forum. So whatever the date on the forum is, that thread that says Fonseca, that's the date it popped up. And it was I don't know, about maybe 4 or 5 days before that. So it was a very good tactical article about him. And then there was another one which also linked on the forum. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, you know, we've spoken on this program before about getting whoever the next up-and-coming young coach is, someone who's tactically innovative, somebody who's young, the complete opposite of what they do, somebody that knows the European game, somebody that can work within constraints but actually change things tactically and make players better. And the more I read, the more it became evident that this was one of those guys. Never heard of him before I'd read these articles, but, you know, these things happen and you'd start to do your research, and everything that I read looked really good. And I thought, wow, where have they plucked this name from? And I thought maybe, just maybe, they are doing what they should be doing, what people do. I read that Ivan Gazidis has said they need to find an innovative, and need to be bold in their approach in who they replace Wenger with. They need to find the best young up and coming. And that statement that Gazidis gave, I wanted to be our statement. I want that to be the mandate that we gave out. And I thought, hold on, this is good. Even though we never actually saw him, did we? Apparently it was his lawyer in the van. We never actually saw a picture of him, but I do think he was there. And at that time, I thought, well, that's a good move. That's promising.
Yeah, I'd never heard of him until he got linked with us, and you look into it, and you do that, though, don't you? You start reading about him, you read reviews, and you look at tactical profile of Shakhtar Donetsk under his management, etc. And he did sound exciting. He did sound young. You thought maybe could be the next Pochettino to the Premier League in the sense that he comes in and be a success. And it would have been a bold statement, and it would have been a risk. And I did think this is not very like David Sullivan, because he's taken a couple of risks in the past and got his fingers burnt. But he's only really taken one managerial risk, if you like, in Village, and it worked for a while. But he ended up getting his fingers burnt a little bit. But the ones that have done okay by Sullivan has been the safe ones, Moyes, Allardyce, etc. The ones he knows will do a good job, have done a good job for Sullivan. But I want to see a risk a little bit. I thought, well, I've never heard of this guy, but I quite like it. It was almost a bit one of them, let's see what happens. We're going out there, we're putting ourselves out there, we're looking for the next guy. And he was round his house on Monday. I'm quite convinced it was him anyway. But this whole, he used us to get a better deal, I'm not a firm believer in that, because he was still at Sullivan's house, and I just think that Sullivan would have had a chance to persuade him. Even if that guy went with a mentality of 90% he was staying at Shakhtar, there was a 10% chance or whatever that Sullivan could convince him to come to West Ham. And if he's gone out there thinking, nah, I'm going to stay where I am, that means that Sullivan's not done his job, which is persuade him, make him believe in what we're doing at West Ham. Or that guy came in and said, this is what I want to do at West Ham, and Sullivan's gone, absolutely not, thank you very much. And I've seen that he's supposed to be getting a better deal at Shakhtar, and his new wages are now $4 million a year. I thought, well, that's what we pay for the manager, isn't it? So, like, surely we could be matching and even bettering that to say, well, we'll give you more than what you're wanting at Shakhtar. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I can't be massively disappointed because I've never heard of the bloke before Monday. So it's not like you were emotionally attached to the idea of him coming in. Then it all kicks off between the two front runners, if you like. Emery's always been on the back burner. He's never been a front runner as such. Benitez and Pellegrini have always been the two that are there. What one would you like to start with?
Oh, to start discussing, yeah. Well, let's start with Pellegrini.
Well, what's your thoughts on Pellegrini? Would you have liked him? I mean, he's on 10, 12 million in China, though. He's still got a year and a half to go in his deal. Is it gettable? Is this deal actually, is he gettable? I'm unsure. I can't convince myself that this is a realistic proposition for West Ham, unless he's got a release clause we don't know about, and two, he's willing to give up at least half his wages.
Well, he's gettable because he's already demonstrated it will sell his integrity for money by going to China. He's not in China for footballing reasons. We've already established that he's up for hire. It's just really the rate that's really there to be haggled with. So, is he available to West Ham in terms of our standing as a club? Yes, he is. He's shown it doesn't have to be a top 4 club. Quite, you can be the standard of their football must be terrible. So we could get him here. Could he pay the money? The thing is, the money is inflated. He's not worth 10 million a season. I think 10 million. I think maybe Pep and Jose are on 13, 14, something like that. So that's the top managers. Then you've got the ones underneath. At the moment, £10 million for a manager, you better be really, really, really good. And if he was that good, and perhaps that might be your Ancelotti or something like that, he would have been courted by all the other top clubs. He wouldn't be in China in the same way that you won't find Neymar is not playing in China. Messi is not playing in China. They're so good that the top clubs want them to play for them. So yes, I do think he's gettable, but I wouldn't pay 10 million for him. That's for sure. He's inflated. His wages are inflated.
Yeah, but that's my point, though. We won't pay 10 million, even if he was Sullivan's number one priority. You can't justify it. This isn't a criticism of Sullivan by saying, "Oh, get your checkbook out and pay it," because I wouldn't want him to. I'd rather he went and found there a cheaper alternative that was more realistic and affordable for West Ham. And that's why I'm not sure he's gettable, unless there's something going on that we're unsure about.
But it may be because everyone talks about football, and I think English football and German football as well. The atmosphere a lot of the games is very, very good, and you do find that people go abroad. Oscar say it, Tevez said it. A lot of people, they go abroad and they go to these small leagues where they're trying to build it up, and they say actually it's just not the same. And actually, maybe with all that money in his pocket, Pellegrini's probably worth 30, 40, 50 million. Sometimes you might just the offer of £7 million a year and the lure of playing Premier League football again might be enough to get him over. Maybe that was how they pitched it.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, would you be happy with him though?
No, not for me. Not for me. I didn't think he was anything special at Man City. I remember the Man City fans sort of moaning about him, and I remember I know they had quite high standards because what they wanted was a Champions League at that point. But I definitely remember rumblings about him, not being tactically that switched on, and I think he's done all right in his career, but he is not Ancelotti, who's won trophies wherever he's gone and stuff like that. So I also think he's at the wrong age spectrum. I thought we should be going for somebody a little bit younger and who could, move us forward. So I think his time has gone. I don't think you're going to see Pellegrini pulling up any trees. He's almost been put out to pasture. That sounds terrible, by the way. That's insulting. I don't mean that, but in many respects, it's a bit like it's got a sniff of Zlatan going out to finish his days at the LA Galaxy about it. I think he's at the end of his managerial career, and it's almost like signing Zabaleta at right back. Is signing Pellegrini, and I know Zabaleta's done all right, but I just think we need to change the mindset of the club and get some fresh ideas in and start and build something.
Oh, I think that's a bit tough on Pellegrini. I think he's done well wherever he's been. Even in Spain, he didn't have bags of money, but he went to clubs the same size as us in Spain. He went to the West Ham Spanish sides, if you like, and he did well there. He's defensive. He's not like a defensive coach, so I wouldn't expect our defense to be fixed like that, which you might hope is going to be the priority of the next manager. But he's got the attacking intent about him, which I'd like to see. I'd be happy with Pellegrini. He's not my number one choice, but I'd be more than happy to see him come to West Ham. But I know this guy was your number one choice, and he's the one that's been touted about, and he's probably Sullivan's number one choice, and that's the Spanish waiter from Newcastle. Is he still your number one choice?
Well, I would have been happy for Fonseca to come in, and And in many respects, what you said about Fonseca was right about Sullivan not doing his job. I'm not in sales, but anyone that would tell you in sales, you work in a shop, the hardest thing is getting people through the door. Once they're through the door, get them to walk, get them in, lure them in with a shop window display, get them in, and then you make the sale. So yeah, he failed to do that. You don't even need to do that with Benitez. He's got a buyout clause, so you just pay it. Now Benitez is not fundamentally a brilliant attacking manager, okay, but he has two big advantages that I see over Moyes. Number one is that he's a serial winner. He will take the cup seriously. That bloke loves winning trophies. I've heard him say it so many times. When he retires, he wants to look back at loads of trophies. He'll go for the League Cup. He'll go for the FA Cup. Every time he wins a trophy, he buys his wife an expensive watch. It's a funny old story, but he loves it. The other thing is, whilst he is defensive, he also likes pace in his team. And when things are not going right, he switches things tactically. So whilst, yes, he might be a little bit defensive, certainly is, would certainly shake up our midfield, because what we have at the moment is not traditionally what Benitez likes to work with. But he would, he'd have us switched on. We wouldn't be on the sideline screaming, make a sub. He makes subs quickly. And we wouldn't have to worry about our cup runs. We would go for it. We might falter trying, but at least we would go for it, and we would take cups seriously.
I'd be happy with him, but he's not as attacking as I would like. But I do think, to give him his credit, out of the managers we've been linked with, if you were to say to me who will get us the most points next season, I'd point at Benitez. So from that perspective, he's probably the best choice. He'd probably make us the toughest to beat out of all the other managers, and it wouldn't come at a massive sacrifice like other people like Moyes and Allardyce are prepared to do. They're prepared to literally sacrifice everything in the final third in order to protect the back third. Benitez isn't like that. While he'll protect the back third, he's always got a plan and how to win it in the final third, etc. with sometimes minimal players, but it works. He has a game plan. He knows what to do. His contacts, if you like, would be massive to West Ham if he can get the right players in. Even if he can just bring down 2 or 3 of his main players from Newcastle to West Ham, it would cost a lot of money to get them out of there, but it would seriously strengthen our squad. He had a championship squad at Newcastle, and what he's achieved is fantastic. I won't be gutted if we miss out on him, providing we go get someone as good to an extent, but if he come, I'd be happy. He's a bit like Pellegrini, just not my first choice. But this is what I was saying. I did a show last night with Tom and Charlie, and what I was trying to say to them is I actually think Sullivan has got a lot of suitable candidates to choose from this summer. There's lots of them out there. It's just, can he, one, go and get them, and two, persuade them to come? Yeah. That's the problem. But there's plenty of managers out there. I can name about 15 managers like that I'd be happy to see come to West Ham this summer. It's not like in 2015 when we had Bilic. There was only a handful of managers that we could really go for and stuff. This year, there seems to be many. There's some that we haven't been linked with and we haven't spoken about, the likes of Eddie Howe, etc. I'd still be happy with them, but they're so far down the list. But that's how big a pool Sullivan has got to work with. But the problem is, almost every day, 1 or 2 managers get out of that pool, like we've seen with this Fonseca. He's out the pool already, so we're already 1 man down. Everton need a manager, but while Marco Silva's probably going to go there, it's unsure. Leicester City could pull the trigger at any minute on Puel, and then all of a sudden they're in the market for the exact same managers we want. They've got ambition, they've also got cash, and they've also got sort of the formula in order to use the cash to get the ambition, whereas we've got a little bit of both, but we don't know how to put it together. Leicester City do. So I think we do need to be a little bit snappy, which is what Sullivan's trying to do, to be fair to him, but we'll come on to that in a second, because we're going to discuss quickly the name that's come out tonight, if you like. He won the Premier League. That's how that. If he was appointed, this how we've appointed someone that's won the Premier League, a Premier League winning manager, Claudio Ranieri. You're shaking your head. No, people can't see you because there's just the 2 of us.
Okay, let me speak. Well, now you can see. Everyone can see me shaking my head. If you're listening on iTunes, I'm shaking my head. Oh, where can I start? You can copy and paste everything I just said about Pellegrini if you want. It's just a wrong end of the spectrum. What a lovely guy. I'll tell you what, as a journalist, I bet you'd love to be in his press conferences. What a lovely man. I was absolutely delighted for him when Leicester won the league title. He got loads of stick off Jose Mourinho. When Jose Mourinho he was harshly done by at Chelsea, Ranieri. He brought in a lot of those players. They won the league the next season. He might well have done it, except just finished second. Jose Mourinho came in, was slagging him off. I thought he was harshly done by, and I was really pleased to see him win the league with Leicester. But he's all the rest of his career, he's pretty much flattered to deceive, and he's got a mediocre record. I think the big thing that went for him at Leicester was, I think it was Steve Walsh at the time was his director of football, and everything was in place. Vardy was there. Kante had been brought in by Steve Walsh. Mahrez, of course, Drinkwater, which was a really brilliant signing. He's a Morgan and Hoof. They were just there, and it was the right time. And obviously he galvanised those players together, and he did well. But we are not in that situation. We are not a club that has this director of football and everything put in place where a coach can come in and put his philosophy into it. What I did like with Leicester is there were times when he would play the I can't think of the guys. It was the Japanese. Ujoa was
Okazaki.
He played Okazaki or Ujoa, I think it was. With Vardy, and he would sometimes go with a 2, which not many people do go with a 2 up front, and sometimes he would do that, and I did quite like that. But I just think we need to the other end of the spectrum. We're looking at someone like Emery, which is exactly who we should be looking for. As I said earlier, it's young and innovative and so on and so forth. And I just think Ranieri has had his career, and I really like him. I'd love to see him in the pundit studio or whatever, but not for me, not for West Ham, and not just because it's box ticking. Because you know what, Harry Redknapp had a good little run in Europe, and as an experienced Premier League manager, no.
He's not for me either. It would be a bit underwhelming to say the least. You know, Sullivan's, while I said he's got a big pool to choose from, I don't class Ranieri in that big pool. Ranieri's sitting outside it. That's how far down the list he is for myself personally. There's so many other people. He's defensive, Ranieri. I know he won the league with Leicester, but I'm not going to call it a fluke because they deserve to win the league, but it was a fluke. The whole season as a whole was a fluke, though. The whole season was a fluke. They deserved to win it, but it's just the way everything went in their favour. And, like, you know, they had Liverpool and Chelsea. I mean, we finished 7th, Southampton finished 6th in that season. It was a fluke for us, and it was a fluke for Southampton as well. It's just, you know, I read Jamie Vardy's book, and he can't praise Ranieri enough in it, and he does come across like he's the player's manager, if you like. But the problem is, 6 months later, probably while I was reading the flipping book, they were all taking daggers out and stabbing him in the back. So he obviously wasn't that nice. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. But it's just, how underwhelming would this be if it was Ranieri? Because he is defensive. He's always tried to play for 1-0s and stuff. He's had an average season in France. He's just parted company for mutual consent. That should be an alarm bell. Yeah. That should be a glaring alarm. It'd be like Leicester looking at David Moyes. Someone would be saying to them, well, hang on a minute, why West Ham got rid of him? There's a reason West Ham haven't kept him on. We don't want him here either. So, yeah, that would be... Would you be angry if Ranieri was the manager that we're speaking about, that David Sullivan's speaking about on the official site?
Well, you couldn't be angry. He's so nice. We couldn't even slag him off on podcasts. The geezer's so nice. Crikey. At least you got Allardyce. You can dig the boot in because he's bloody horrible. I don't know. Angry's the word. I'm
uninspired.
I'm very uninspiring. Very uninspiring. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do me. And the wrong choice. I just wonder sometimes with Sullivan, he releases this statement, which for those of you that don't know it, he's released a statement basically saying we're going to bring in somebody with Premier League experience and European experience. That's not word for word. That's roughly what he said. And I just wonder if he's done that intending on getting someone else, realised he can't get whoever he originally intended. Hold on, I've made myself. He's painted himself into a corner. I've got to find somebody who fits the things that I said in my statement. The statement he said he wouldn't make, by the way, because yesterday he said there'd be no further comment. And having done that, he's. I just wonder if he's thinking, oh no, we'll get Ranieri in. That's a good idea. And I hope it's not true. I hope it's not speculation. I hope Sean Whetstone, I hope you're winding everyone up, because Sean has posted a picture of Claudio Ranieri with no words. He just posted it as a teaser. He's done a teaser. He's just posted a picture of Ranieri up there. I hope you're having a wind up, Sean, on that, actually.
Yeah, it would be disappointing, but Sullivan's come out today. Like you said yesterday, Moyes announced and it said it, but the club will make no further comment until the manager's been confirmed. Literally 24 hours later, David Sullivan's put out a thing saying we're closing in on the top manager, Premier League experience, European experience, no stone unturned. 7 days. Well, you're not that close then, are you? Because 7 days to me is quite anything can happen in 7 days. It's literally in the last 24 hours, we've gone from looking at various candidates to narrowing it down to one. So how he's predicting it to be 7 days, I don't know, because that's quite lengthy. Who do you think it is?
I think it's Benitez.
It's got to be. It's
got to be Benitez. But then there's a bit of bravado has come out. So Newcastle have leaked a statement, if you like, to Sky Sports News saying that he has a watertight contract with a hefty release clause. Now, I just wonder if that bravado from them is because, you know what Sullivan's like? He's probably got the old Crayolas out. He's probably scribbled something down on a bit of paper and faxed it over to Mike Ashley saying, look, we know, it's 3 million, even though his release clause is 6 or something. And I just wonder if Newcastle have looked at that and thought, hold on, he's already haggling. He hasn't got the money or he hasn't got the appetite to match Rafa's release clause, which is what you would do. All the criticism, it's over and over and over again of him, is that he just goes in cheap. And I just wonder if Newcastle thought, you know what? He's clearly not that committed, so that's why they're confident. But you can never be too confident because let's not forget that they were confident of announcing Martin O'Neill. Do not forget that saga, and that just did not happen either, did it?
Yeah, it's got to be Rafa. 6 million means that if they go into Newcastle, put the 6 million on the table, they can then speak to Rafa Benitez directly, and there's nothing Newcastle can do about it. I know Newcastle can obviously try and persuade him to sign a new deal and stuff, but it's then a 50-50. You've got a fair battle. You're going up against Mike Ashley, toe-to-toe with him and putting stuff on the table for Rafa. If anything, Rafa's in a laughing position here because he's got 2 British chairmen under serious pressure from their fan bases for different reasons, and they're under pressure as well because one's trying to sell the club and one's probably going to try and sell the club eventually. And Rafa Benitez is a valuable asset because I've seen some people say, well, why would Mike Ashley promise Rafa Benitez 80 million to spend, which is apparently how much he wants at Newcastle. He wants 80 million this summer apparently. People are saying, well, why would he give him that if he's trying to sell the club? Well, that's why you give him it, because Rafa Benitez probably adds value to the sale of your club. If they lose him, who's Newcastle going to go get? Because then all of a sudden their security in the Premier League for the next 2-3 years or something has pretty much disappeared unless they get a seriously good replacement in. I just put it. See, Rafa's not my first choice, but I'm hoping it's Rafa just because of Claudio Ranieri.
Oh yeah. Who's your first choice?
Probably still Brendan Rodgers. And then if it wasn't him, it would be David Wagner. But that's just because of the football I like to see. I want to see football. I don't want to see... Listen, I can't underestimate this. David Moyes did his job, okay? That's fine. We've always said that. Moyes has been doing his job. But honestly, Gonzo, when it came out that he'd gone, I was genuinely delighted. I wasn't bouncing up and down cheering, but I was actually really happy.
Are you doing a conga around your lounge?
Doing something. but no, the thing is though, I was dreading watching David Moyes' football next season. You know, how often have I said to you, my eyes bleed watching it? The amount of times I've gone to the London Stadium this season to be fair, under Bilic as well, because football was that bad. But this season, and halfway through the game, you're speaking to people around you, and you're hardly even noticing the game because you're just so bored by what's happening and stuff. We need something. We need a bit of an injection in the club. There's almost like a feel-good factor since Moyes has left, and all these names are coming in, but everybody's getting excited again. And it's been a while since we've had this excitement. And I just think that if we get Ranieri, I just think some of that excitement is going to get knocked out of us a little bit. We're going to, come on. But it's time for Sullivan to make a statement of intent. And the first thing he can do is get a manager in that screams intent. And I still think, out of those managers we've discussed, apart from Ranieri, I think all of them are a good signing for West Ham. I'd say some of them are coups. I think some of them will have the football and we're all going, oh, hang on a minute, this is a good purchase by West Ham. It's not the first time we've said this though, but it really is make or break for Sullivan. But surely he's got to know, he's got to know. He's had so many warnings now, and he must remember the Burnley game, and he must think, I've got to get this right. I cannot mess about any longer with this lot because they are now seriously against me. And if I get this one wrong, that's it.
Yeah, well, Benitez is the safe option. I do think he's the safe option. The real gutsy one would be Emery, because that thing that you just said about other clubs standing up and taking notice, that would really be, all the linguistic thing aside, that really would be West Ham going to get one of the top coaches. I mean, in many respects, not restart of football, but he is the new Benitez, because he did with Sevilla what Benitez did with Valencia. He's sort of, won trophies and European trophies too, and from within a league where it's really 2 or 3 team dominance, and that's exactly what Benitez done. But yeah, I think Benitez is the safe one. But he's got to get one of these. He's got to nail one of these, and he's going to have to spend money. He's not going to be able to do this on the cheap anymore. So if I was him, and I would pay that money down, bearing in mind how much they've saved, how much they haven't spent in recent transfer windows, how much they're earning off the Premier League money. We've all seen the accounts last time. Bearing in mind that, no more £10 million dividend for themselves this time and all the rest of it. I would go to Rafa and I'll just say, look, Rafa, we've played your clause. Come and work for us. I'll pay you what you want. What do you want? You want 8 million a year? I'll pay you 8 million a year. Come over here, make yourself a hero. Give the fans a cup run. They will love you. Play attacking, play some fast players there. Build the team around Declan Rice. Do that. Here's your 80 million, by the way, that you wanted off Newcastle. If we do sell Lanzini, we're going to try and keep him. We'll try and time that new contract. If he does go and we get the 55, 60 million for him, you can have that as well. Whatever you get, you can reinvest. But with that squad you got now, here's 80 million. Come and make yourself a hero down in East London. The fans will love you. And I'd just try and pitch it like that to him.
Yeah, quite agree. Right, question time. We'll start with Twitter. At Swoop Wing, so Eddie is signing a number 1 keeper a major priority this summer. He thinks Adrian's still decent. He'd rather see the major money spelt elsewhere in the team.
It's a fair point, Eddie. I mean, we could almost spend no money. I mean, Hart is available on a free as well, isn't he? So, I mean, we could almost sign up our 2 keepers again. Not that I think they would both sign at the same time, because I think they're both sick of the situation. It's so hard to predict because we don't know who the manager's going to be. One manager might think, actually, the goalkeeper, that's the most important position in the team. Some managers do. You start from the back. And if they're given a war chest, they might think, well, actually, I want to spend half of it on a goalkeeper. You just don't know. Heaton has been linked again, hasn't he? Which we first brought up on this show quite a while ago. We spoke about him because Pope was doing so well. So who knows, Eddie? It's ever so hard. It's ever so hard to tell. Ever so hard. But I wouldn't be disappointed with signing Adrian up again as long as we sorted the defence out.
I would make the keeper probably my second priority this summer. Defensive midfielder first, and then my keeper, because keepers are worth points in your season. Even our keepers, while they've cost us some this season, you could go through some games where it's been 0-0 or it's been 1-0 or whatever, and they've pulled off some superb saves. Adrian did against Everton. I think it was 1-0, and someone was 1-on-1 with him, and he pulled off a good save. So I'd pay good money. Tom Heaton probably my number 1. Butland, but he's probably too expensive, I think. But what's 20 million for a goalkeeper that's going to be here for the next 8 years or something? When you divvy it up over the terms, it works out at 3 million a year. So we probably just paid Man City that for Joe Hart for the season. So let's get someone in and sort the number 1 position. I think Rob Green's the last keeper we spent money on. That's how long ago it was since we paid a fee for a goalie. So it's an important part of your team, and we're not spending money on it. It's obscene. But I don't think we need to spend money in the striker department unless someone leaves, for example. So I think we just need to spend wisely, and keeper for me is wisely. At Graham Taylor 5 Tails says, given the misleading promises the board have given before, do you think Sullivan would have made this statement in this afternoon about the new manager's appointment if they hadn't already got their man behind the scenes? Surely they wouldn't risk antagonising fans like that.
Oh, really, Graham? Hello, mate.
Answered his own question a bit.
Yeah, I've seen it before with the Martin O'Neill saga. They were they almost had to beg Avram Grant, if you could ever imagine such a thing, not to depart again, because they were so confident they had Martin O'Neill lined up. And I think, I might be wrong, I think Martin O'Neill was not impressed with how it all played out in the media and actually turned around and said, thanks, but no thanks. So I'm quite certain that Sullivan thinks he's almost got someone in the bag, but his level of certainty and getting a deal over the line are two very different things, as we've seen before with him.
Yeah, I try not to get too worked up about this, but I remember when we did it with Hernandez, didn't we? We came out and said on the Friday or whatever, we said we're speaking with Hernandez, we've had a bid accepted, and then we signed him eventually. So it was, but it is risky. It's just stupid, really. There's no need for you to come out and say no. It was literally 24 hours since you've announced David Moyes is leaving. You said you're going to take 10 days. Take the 10 days. Don't speak until 10 days are up. Just give yourself your best chance, because he is his own worst enemy at times. Because now, if nothing happens for the next 2 or 3 days, everybody's going to be panicking, going, "Oh, you've obviously messed up, then, haven't you, Sullivan?" Because he put this statement out, so it's his own fault. At WHU Daniel _ says, what players that suit Benitez's style of play or current Newcastle players would you bring to the club?
Daniel, I'll tell you what, Kennedy's done really well for him. The right back is very decent. Benitez likes a hard run. I don't know if you remember Sissoko from his Liverpool team. And he would constantly, you'd see the stat coming out that he had covered the most kilometres in the Premier League in each game. He likes a running machine in there, and he likes pace, and he likes good delivery from wide as well. He's also not afraid to have a little striker in there with a slightly more skillful one up just behind him. I don't think I like Perez. I don't think you'd take him, because I think if we keep Lanzini, he would earmark Lanzini for that Perez thing. I think he would look. He would certainly look at the right back, whether it was any from Newcastle or whatever. I think he's got a mistrust of Shelvey, but he likes a very creative player in there. But you almost get the feeling when referee wanted to drop Shelvey a bit. But I think if he could get Kennedy over, I think he certainly would look to do it. I'm not sure he'd bring Diarmi back. I think he's probably likely to play a 4 at the back. So you'd think he would hopefully look at Ogbonna and Rice as the future there, and then probably deal with right back and a fast striker and central midfield.
Yeah, see, I think he'd bring his captain down with him, but it would cost us big bucks to get Lascelles out of there. He's been one of the biggest success stories out of Newcastle this season, but it's the same sort of fee that we were getting quoted for Alfie Mawson in January. You'd be looking at 30 to 40 million to get him out of Newcastle. But if we get him, he'd be a superb signing for us. And him, Rice and Ogbonna, while we'd probably convert to 2 centre-backs, that 3 between them would do us for the season almost. And that's without thinking about Winston Reid. So I think there's not that many people I think he'd take down from Newcastle. Lascelles, that's about it. Shelvey maybe, but I know what you're saying about him. But at the same time, Rafa knows how to get best out of him. I've never been Shelvey's. I've not been a massive fan of Shelvey. I've never really had a big desire to see him come. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think Kennedy's back at Chelsea though this summer. So
I thought they'd signed him for 10 million.
No, I think he's on loan. I'm quite certain.
I thought it was Atsu. Maybe I got him wrong. Maybe Atsu came from Chelsea and he's whatever.
They're permanent.
Okay.
Kennedy's on loan. Shahir says, would you take a punt on Buffon? He's obviously leaving Juventus. In case you don't know, he's leaving Juventus, but he's saying he's not retiring yet. And obviously, he did his book years ago where he quoted I think he said there's 5 teams he'd love to play for or whatever, and one of them was West Ham.
Was it really?
Yeah, he plays West Ham. He said he admires our passion or something like that.
If that's Shahir from Twitter, who's in block 130? I think he's in block next to us. Maybe get his son along. His son just won player of the tournament. I think he was posting pictures of his son, not as a goalkeeper, of course. No, he's too old. Not Shahir's son. Buffon's too old.
Oh Christ! I don't think he'd come. I think this is pie in the sky stuff. But if Buffon was willing to come, Christ, I would take him. Like there's no tomorrow. That guy, is
400 years old.
Yeah, but he's a legend of the game, isn't he? He's still one of the best goalkeepers in Europe. Even just a 1-year deal.
Glenn Hoddle in midfield.
And it's a freebie. It would suit David Sullivan down to the ground.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah, a freebie on huge wages. Lovely, he likes that.
He knows Ogbonna. That'll be handy. They could be mates in defence.
Could bring Maldini with him, couldn't he? Slot in either centre back or left back.
He could get Gattuso in the centre midfield as well. I'd actually probably play Gattuso ahead of Chianti to me.
He's probably got more movement. He got a bit more snarl about him, and he Gattuso here as well.
Right. These are just about managers. We've gone through it all. Ian Gravitz says Oxford, Burke, Samuelson, etc. Who will all leave? And also about Josh Cullen. I mean, this is an interesting one because this is what the new manager's going to have to decide pretty quick. He's got to look at Cullen, Oxford, and Burke. The ones he's named there, because all three of them are technically first team squad for next season. But do they have futures at West Ham?
Well, we just don't know, Ian. We don't know anymore. It's all down to the individual, and we sort of knew what Moyes was thinking, and we would have been able to say with absolute certainty Moyes is going to get rid of Reece Oxford. Somebody might come in and think that Reece Oxford is the most technically gifted young defender he's seen in quite a while and decide he's actually a right back or something like that, or is a defensive midfielder. You just don't know. It's almost impossible to tell. It really is. I just hope whoever does come in gives everybody a chance. Be it Cullen, Burke, Oxford. I don't know what we're going to do about pre-season. I mean, someone needs to organise something, which is another reason for getting somebody in, sooner rather than later. But hopefully they arrange a good pre-season with a good training camp somewhere, and just whoever comes in has a good look at all of those players and the other youngsters as well. I would include Holland and Brown in that as well, and then we decide, who to let go. I don't know. You can wait on doing that before we make signings. That we have to make signings anyway. But I'd just like to see some youngsters, at least for the new manager, to have a look at them.
I think it should probably be part of the new manager's job specification. Really, they say, well, we've got a few promising ones. Up to you to find out if they can make it or not. And if not, let's get them out of the squad. I know Reece Burke's been linked to Rangers to join Steven Gerrard at Ibrox, and Reece Oxford apparently wants to stay in Germany next season. So it would be a shame, really. But this leads into my next question. This isn't from someone. This is from me. James Collins.
Is he in the chat?
No, afraid not. No. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. He might be one of the names that have got like a strange name. 32X, whoever that is. I don't know. He might be James Collins.
Oh no, I know that. He comments all the time.
Yeah, but it might be James Collins.
It might be Ginge. It might be Ginge. I'll give you a new deal, Ginge. What were you going to ask?
Well, would you give him a new deal? He still doesn't know. It's sort of been passed down to the new manager, but at the same time, like, what's happening? Would you like to see him stay or not? I mean, the fans have been passionate about it, if you like, but if we do get Benitez in, who only plays two centre backs, you've got Ogbonna, Rice, Reid.
Yeah, I think you have to draft him onto the coaching squad. You've got to keep him involved and keep him as a player coach. Moyes taking all his staff with him is a huge thing. I do think somebody, while Stuart Pearce wasn't with us for year upon year, and people will always look at Stuart Pearce primarily as a Nottingham Forest player, of course, but I think he did get it. I think Stuart Pearce did understand about West Ham. James Collins certainly understands about West Ham, and I do think if, let's say it was Rafa and he brings a whole load of Spaniards with him, as you'd expect, those are his trusted lieutenants and whatnot, I think they would miss. It's of course not just Pearce, it's Irvine and all the rest. I think Woods might still be there, but I think you've got to, even more so, particularly there'll be players now excited, but also there'll be players shitting themselves at this, because he will come in and he undoubtedly won't fancy some players, and it's not just the obvious ones like the young ones. There will be people, senior players in that squad. it might just turn around. Someone like Rafa Benitez might come in and he might think, actually, Kiate is exactly my type of player. And then someone we think is going to be out the door actually plays up. He's my Sissoko, he's my Diarmi or whatever. It actually might well be that somebody like Mark Noble, he turns around and says, sorry, I don't think you're going to be able to cut it. So somebody like that, it's not within the realms of possibility that would happen. And as we start losing these senior players, then with somebody like James Collins on the coaching staff and still in the dressing room and still as a member of the squad would be very, very important to keep a bit of identity at West Ham, actually.
It's difficult, really, because this one is all about sentimentality for me. If he hadn't been here for so long, I would happily sit here and say, I think we need to move him on a little bit. But the problem is he has been here for so long. He does get the fans, etc. But at the same time, there's a part of me that thinks, well, you almost want to see, if James Collins had been fit this season, the whole season, we wouldn't have seen Rice as much. We just wouldn't have, because James Collins would have been in ahead of him. Bilic and Moyes would have picked Collins ahead of Rice, I think. But it happened on a few occasions during the season as well. When Rice played a game, played well, then a more senior defender was fit, bam, Rice was on the bench again. So it's a blessing in disguise. I could be wrong. I can't look it up, but I'm sure Andy Carroll played more minutes than James Collins this season. Okay, so one of them is going to get labelled up as injury prone. He's got to get rid of him off the wage bill, etc. Well, you can't have it both ways, or can you? Just because someone's been here for so long, it is difficult. It is like a sentimentality thing. But if you remove the sentimentality from it and look at it, how old he is, how good he is, I don't think he's our best. I think he's probably our fourth best centre back.
But he's probably our, not Rice. Obviously, Rice's wages will go up. He's probably our lowest earning centre back as well. So that also gets taken into account. I think a big thing with Andy Carroll is the money. It doesn't. People see that he costs whatever he costs, 70 million. People see that he's taken 20 million pounds worth of wages out of West Ham. And I think people just think you've just not repaid. I don't think people feel they have value for money out of James. Like they do James Collins.
Carroll has repaid it though, because if Carroll's goals helped secure us Premier League football for the last 2 seasons now, I still think we would have went down the season before last, Bilic's last full season. We would have went down without Carroll's goals. And
no, I think that's all about. I think listen, I take your point. But I still think the majority of fans would feel that Andy Carroll, and we'll find out, right in the dubris below, but I'd still think that the majority of fans would feel that Carroll hasn't represented value for money, but they will look at James Collins and I think that guy has proved value for money. And it's not just a sentiment. I think that's a big, big thing. I just don't think people feel for the money, a top earner and all that money. I don't think for how he was for a long, long time. He played enough, and and I think that's really the big thing. And I'll tell you what you say, if he might have saved us from relegation or helped save us from relegation, but I still think that's I think the money is a big thing and how much he earns.
Yeah, possibly, but at the end of the day, he scored the equaliser against Stoke and the winner against West Brom, and those points is what helped us be safe heading into the last 2 games. You took them out, there's a good chance we would have been going into the last day of the season in a relegation battle. There's even just those 2 goals. He scored 3 this season. Even just those 2 goals has been worth 15 million to West Ham this season.
Yeah, but if someone was fit all season, then they would have scored more than 3 goals. So you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I've seen Kaleri be fit all season and not score more than 3 goals.
But Kaleri was a loan signing. They weren't earning that. I reckon most players are 100 grand. Huh? Again, you're mucking around, sir. You're mucking around. It's a little free, not a freebie. Hugo cost 1 Hugo, and he was on not very much wages, was he? I'm talking the big money buy. Listen, 3 goals. You're not proving your point by saying he scored 3 goals in the season. It's pathetic.
Don't care. It's 3 important goals. It's 3 goals that have earned us tens of million over the course of the season. He's done it. But going back to Collins, I'm really stuck on this one. And I can understand whoever makes a decision. I can understand it either way. Whether he gets a new deal, fine, I can get it. But at the same time, it's hypocritical for me to sit here and say that I want to see Reece Oxford and Burke get a chance when I'm also saying actually keep that really old centre back on and put him in the way of these guys getting the chance in the first team. If we want to move forward, we were the worst defence in the Premier League last season. He contributed to it. He's our slowest defender. And this is, I feel bad saying this because I love the bloke, and like you said, he is cheap, he loves the club, etc. But I think if you take away the love you've got for Collins, you look at it, I think it's a bit more unfortunate. We just have to shake hands and say goodbye to him and tell him go Cardiff or wherever it is he wants to go. And once he's finished, once he's hung up his boots, come back to the club and he's got a job here. A bit like we've done with Carlton Cole. I don't even know what Carlton Cole's job is. He just sort of floats around the club making people happy. But that's all we can offer James Collins, and that's all we can offer James Collins, is make sure he comes back. But I just think we want to see this club move forward. You spoke about wanting a young manager, a new dynamics. You don't want to see the old stuff anymore. Well, I'm the same on the football pitch. We had the third oldest squad in the league last year. West Brom was the oldest. They've just got relegated. And the second oldest, can't remember who was off the top of my head, but they finished below us. There's a clue there. You're going to have old, slow players. You're going to struggle in Premier League this day and age. And we're going to play 4 at the back. I'm not sure I want one of my centre-backs to be James Collins. You'll get away with him at 3 at the back, but 4 at the back, I'm not convinced.
Neil Warnock likes to play 3 at the back, so there may well be hope for him yet.
Well, is he? But on to the YouTube live questions. Fraser says, what manager that we've been linked with plays the best football in your opinion?
It would be hard to say because I have to pretend that. Actually, no, I've got to say, when I saw Sevilla play when they were tearing up Europe, they were bloody excellent. They were excellent. I can't lie and say I've ever seen Fonseca's. I've seen Shakhtar play football. Crikey, there's far better things to do on a Wednesday evening, isn't there? Surely. But yeah, Emery's Sevilla. I did see some of that, and they look pretty tasty.
The funny thing is, as much as I've just mugged Ranieri off, the Ranieri's Leicester for one season was pretty good to watch.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about it.
Just that one season.
Pellegrini's team are all right. Aguero and all the rest of it. Yeah. What do we know? Why are people even watching and listening? We know nothing.
The interesting thing is none of us have mentioned Benitez, which is...
No, we know. He is a bit defensive.
But I would say Emery as well. The ones we've been with, I would say, would be Emery as well, because I don't know who the Shakhtar manager is. I've never watched them. I know they got out the group stage of the Champions League, did well. I think Man City was in the same group, maybe.
But they've got players called Bernard and Fred. So good sort of West Country players in their team.
KP says, director of football search. I mean, this I think Sullivan's played a blinder here. The manager thing's completely removed the spotlight on the lack of director of football that we said we were going to get. And even if you allow him to get off a director of football, where's this revamp of the transfer strategy? The transfer window open today, by the way. You can now buy players. Well, if Scooby, we're still... Why are you laughing?
It's the what you said about the revamp and the strategy, and I just got in my mind Sullivan thinking, oh, well, that sounds good. Oh, yeah, we're going to what are we going to do? We're going to totally revamp the player recruitment procedure. Oh, that sounds great. And I just think it sounded really good when he was getting somebody to help him write a statement. Oh, yeah, that's it. We'll go with that. That's what we're going to do. Get that out there. The fans will like that. It's just funny. He did that before the Watford game, I think, just before the Watford game. That he did his little video. Maybe he got confused. Maybe they thought, they run to the pitch at Burnley. Maybe they don't want a director of football. I don't know. I just think the whole thing's laughable. The man hasn't even got the courage of his convictions. Anyone that was sure, I'd have more respect if he was stubborn and didn't listen to the fans. So actually, no, I'm doing this. Stick to your guns. His opinion and what he's doing constantly fluctuates. It's constantly moving. It's almost like he's constantly trying to be all things to all men. He's constantly trying to call opinion and be popular and try and do the popular thing rather than have a bit of courage to stick to his mind and do something. It's a very flimsy way of doing things, jumping from one idea to the next.
Yeah, but David Sullivan's revamp of the transfer strategies using Football Manager instead of FIFA for identifying players. But the transfer window is open now, so funny and games are ready to occur in the next few days. I think this is why we need to get a move on with the manager, though, because the managers we're linked with, and this is what I don't get, though. This is what frustrates me. I remember we were talking about this the whole of last season. That is, what is West Ham United's identity? What are we wanting from a manager? Because Benitez and Emery are not the same manager. So what are we wanting? Are we wanting someone that's going to come in and play efficient football, build from the back type stuff, and we're going to be hard to break down? Or are we wanting a manager who this Francesco, whatever his name was, who's the complete opposite? He's all hell, bugger my defence. Let's just go gung ho and see if we can outscore the opposition. They're completely different managers. So what type of manager are we even wanting? And I don't think he knows. I don't think David Sullivan knows. He's almost just going, oh, well, we'll just interview them all, and then whichever one's silly enough to come to us, that's who we'll take. But then this leads us on to the next question, which is from Jazza. Says, do we have enough money, the budget, to back the manager so he can get the right players in to suit his style? Because if this Francesco guy came in, for example, he would need to cut half the squad out in order to fit his philosophy.
The comments underneath are going to be saying it's Fonseca, not Francesco. Geo, that's what they'll be saying. They'll be going to be annoyed in the comments. It depends who you get, doesn't it? Really, it's comparatively. As I understand it, Fonseca wasn't able to change any of the players when he went at Shakhtar. He had to work with what he had. Benitez, have you got to offer him as much as Guardiola? No, I think you've just got to offer him more than Ashley and then pay his wages, and you might get him. You also got to think that hopefully we have a better starting point than Newcastle. So in Newcastle, he has to buy lots of players. We slag ourselves off quite a lot. But let's just look at the bright side of West Ham for a second. Ogbonna's a really good centre back. Rice is coming through and looks decent. We got 2 left backs. And Nautovic looks like, when played in as a striker, like one of the best strikers in the league. Let's be fair. Lanzini's a bloody good player. Antonio hopefully is coming back to fitness. We've got some really good youngsters, and we got Hernandez there now, who you either want as guaranteed goals, or you sell him, and that frees up a lot of transfer budget. So we do actually have some components of a very, very... And of course, we've got Mark Noble there, who is the gel to pull it all together, of course, who is Mr. West Ham. So you've got a lot of ingredients there where actually maybe you don't have to overhaul the whole lot. What are you laughing at?
There's a thing on the live chat. It's called Super Comment or something. Young Tom has just paid £2 to leave a comment, so his comment's massive compared to everyone else. But it's cost him £2.
What, young Tom who can come on the channel?
Yeah, he's just paid £2. His comment's massive in the live chat. So Hammer's chat are going to get £2 off Tom just so he's. I find it amusing. I'm sorry.
Well, that significantly boosts the transfer. No, that is funny.
No one else is doing it. Come on, everyone paid £2. Big comments.
Come on, yeah. That's it. We do all this stuff for you, but just pay. Give us some money, will you? Goodness sake, we need to a lot of money. Feel sorry, but we haven't got any alcohol left. We drunk it all. We need more money. Yeah, there we go. What I can't remember what we were talking about now.
I can't even remember anymore. Money. We're speaking about the West Ham's money. Last question, I think. Lee, well, actually, there's one more. You were basically saying that we've got a good foundation for the next manager coming. We've got a good squad here.
Yes.
So it might not need a complete overhaul. I have to agree, actually. I do think there's a lot of stuff. And even the players that you don't want, I say you don't want, we don't want, and the manager might not fancy, they're on big wages. While the transfer fee is not excessive, you might get 8 million for Snodgrass, you might get 8 million for Hugo or something. You can get rid of 4 or 5 fringe players and probably create £30 million for yourself for players that you don't necessarily want. But you're also going to free up a large wage bit to start with. You've also got Joe Hart and Mario leaving, Patrice Evra, hopefully, God, he better leave. You've got them leaving, that's going to free up 300. You've got a lot to start with before Sullivan has to dip his hand in his pocket here. But Lee says, what players would you drive to a new club?
Well, it sounds awful. I hate being disrespectful, but you've asked a question, so I'm going to open the minibus door and usher in Patrice Evra. I think it's time for Winston Reid to go. I think probably. I think actually I like Zabaleta, but I do think we need to bring in another right back to start the transition. Certainly. I think Kiate might be on the bus, or he gets moved to centre back. I think maybe that's an option for somebody there. Not too many of them. I think a lot of them are. I think people like Fernandez has got something to still prove, and some improving to do. Hernandez, I'd be unlikely to usher him to the bus because it only takes the right manager, and you've got a proven goal scorer there. So, yeah, maybe. Maybe just those.
What about Carroll? I was expecting you to say Carroll.
Oh yeah, Carroll's an asset in terms of he can get you 3 goals a season, as Geo said. So they could be valuable ones that might keep you up. So I just don't think it's going to be an option for us to get rid of Carroll. His injury record's so bad, no one's going to take him. I think he'll see out the remainder of his contract. And that will be it. And the one thing you've got to ask is, how much will Carroll fit into any of the managers that we're being linked with? Even the defensive one, Benitez, as I said, the one big striker he had was Mitrovic, who we got rid of him pretty sharpish as well. He preferred Dwight Gale to him, and he has sort of always. There was a little flirt with Peter Crouch, maybe at Liverpool, but Peter Crouch was a substitute and was rotated quite a lot. In the main, he likes a creative, a Lanzini type player with a quick player there. So I'm not so sure. That's going to be up to the manager. It's going to be tough.
And 20 and 10 gave us £2 as well for the super chat. We've doubled our budget, Gonzo. We've got £4
Bless you. Thank you. Stop. Don't give us any money. Stop. We were joking.
That's all right. That's a year ago.
Thank you. Thank you kindly. That is very much appreciated.
For just £2 a show, you can donate to get us pissed on the opening day of the season. Fantastic.
I'm thrilled. We got £4.
Wait, hang on. We need to stop this, otherwise David Sullivan's going to start a YouTube channel next week. We need to stop this. He's going to get ideas. Get ideas here. As for the question,
what did he write? Hold on. He's paid £2. You better tell us what he wrote, because he's paid his £2.
I can't even remember, actually. I just seen the £2. That's about I was concentrating on. I don't know how to scroll back. Charlie, type in the live chat. Sam Byram, I think he's got to go. I really like Byram, but he's permanently injured. I've seen he comes back for 3 games, plays crap for 2, has a little bit of potential for 1. You think, oh, hang on, he's actually got something here. Then he gets injured again. And I think we need a new right back as well. So that means that Byram's got to go, because Zabaleta has to stay for his last year. Then we're going to have to get another one in a year's time. Reid, injury prone, isn't he? If we're going to get another centre back in, he's got to go. This is a bit strange. If a big bid come in for him, I'd let Obiang leave. I just think we need. Now, this is. Listen, I'm not saying I would drive him to the car. I don't want him out. But if he was to get sold for a decent enough fee, I wouldn't be upset. There's something about him that I just think he's a bit like jack of all trades, master of none. I think his passing is all right, but I want a better passer in the centre of the midfield. Kiate, well, yes, please just get him out of there. Jesus Christ. I'd sell him on this live chat. We'll get more donations, and we've had another one.
No, if we get donations, it means we have to buy him. We can't sell him. It means Kiate, Hammers chat, signed Kiate from West Ham. He comes on, he does all this with us.
I'm not sure I want him, to be fair.
He's a good laugh. They like him in the change room. He's a life and soul. Calls everyone, he calls you boss. Calls everyone boss. Boss man. Hello, boss man. Hello, boss man.
Yeah, but he's always injured. He'd actually get injured doing a live stream. He's permanently on the ground. He's permanently got bandages on and stuff. And Jordan Hugo and Snodgrass, that's the other two. They're the first two to be getting rid of in the summer, just to free up the money. Even if you only get 15 million for the two of them combined, it's enough. Just get rid of them. They're not needed here. Shoo, away you go. But I think that's come to the end of the show. Gonzo, we've earned £6. That's a meal deal from Tesco each.
Wow. I can't believe it. I didn't even know you could do such a thing on YouTube. Yeah,
you could have done it for months, but no one's ever done it until.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. We're cool. We're cool. It's what a one. I'm actually injured as well. So I've done back Chiato. I've got a splinter in my ankle earlier. So I've carried on. I'm here.
Well, you've earned your meal deal, but it's only a 330ml bottle now because of sugar tax, so you're not getting a decent drink anymore. But is there anything you want to add? I mean, there's stuff I was going to talk about. We're going to have to keep till next time, such as Mario, do we sign him, do we not? Tony Henry's interview in Sky Sports, lack of interview in Sky Sports News, if you like. But we've come to the end of the show, so is there anything you'd like to add? Oh, West Ham ladies, by the way. West Ham ladies have got their last game on Sunday. It's at home, Rush Green. Season ticket holders, it's free to get in. It's like £1 or something if you're not a... Well, hello, Chris Lewington. He's chucked a £5 in. Bloody hell, Gonzo, we're up for 11 quid. We're going to have to sign someone soon.
Stop. Seriously, stop. Seriously, do stop.
He said it's worth a pint at the London Stadium. Jesus Christ, £5 in.
Thank you ever so much. But honestly, please do stop. don't give us. Do not give us any money.
But yeah, so that's come to the end of the show. We'll be back very soon because there'll be manager talk, transfer talk and stuff. But just quickly, West Ham ladies thing, and also thank you very much for joining us over the last season or so for this. I think we started Cup of Tea this season. Did we? We sort of gave a name.
We rebranded. I think that's what they call it these days. We rebranded.
Well, listen, if people keep chucking money in, we're going to rebrand again. This is the Chris Lewington show for the rest of the night.
it'll be a flute of champagne with Geo Gonzo. That's what it'll be if you keep donating. I'll tell you this much.
Yeah, a flute of champagne.
We got £6. I got my new jumper from King Apparel. Bless them. I'm like, I can't believe it. It's just, I feel
humbled.
I'm humbled. That wasn't a humbled face. It was aggressive, though. I don't feel aggressive. I feel honoured. But please stop.
But anyway, if you haven't donated money, make sure you've at least subscribed to the channel. What are you laughing at?
I don't. I thought you were going to say, if you haven't donated money, the link's below. It's not. Give it to Isla. Give it to Isla. We got.
Make sure you subscribe. Drop a like on the video as well. Me and Gonzo, and you'll see plenty of other guests. We're here all season, all summer. Sorry, lots of transfer talk, lots of manager talk. I'm waiting to start pestering. To be fair, and probably should give £2 of this to Charlie to make him get an insights video out in the next week or so. But we've got one coming out. Someone emailed us asking to do one on Javier Hernandez, so that'll be coming out soon. But Gonzo's final words from yourself and say goodbye to everybody.
My final words will be goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you to Chris, Tom, Rock, and Anton. Thank you for your money. I appreciate it. While Gonzo doesn't like it, we're away from Heel Deal. We'll catch you in a